UITableViews can be really hard to set up. So in this tutorial, I want you to hit that subscribe button because I'm going to talk about UITableView cells, headers and footers, and all of them should be dynamic. So Alex here from Rebeloper.com, open up Xcode and let's dive in. So let's see what we are going to build out here. With this example that we are going to build today, you will know 99% of how to create a UI table view. So let's build this out, and as you can see, we have a header, footer, and some cells. I don't know if you can notice this in the recording that we have a divider here. So what you have to be careful here, and what we have here is that all of the headers, footers, and cells are dynamically sized. So as you can see, this is just a 3-liner, 5-liner, and so on. Of course, all of the footer and header also are dynamically sized. So how awesome is that? We are going to build out just this. So we are going to do that from scratch. Let me just stop this and let's create a brand new Xcode project. Go to File, New, and Project. There we go. Let me just resize this. Here it is. Awesome. So let's select iOS and the app template. Let's click on next here, and I will name this TableView example. There it is. Now for the interface, make sure you check storyboard and not Swift UI. And for the life cycle, of course, UIKit with app delegate. Language should be Swift, of course. So let's click on next here, and let's add a new folder. And I will create a Git repository so you can later take a look at the whole code in action. Okay, we have created that. And yeah, first thing first, let's get rid of the main.storyboard. So let's delete that, move to trash. In the info playlist file, let me just make some room here so you can see better. So application scene manifest, scene configuration. So go ahead all the way down where you can see the storyboard name and hit this little minus button there so we can remove that. Let's go back to general, and under main interface we should delete this. So now we remove the storyboard. So what we have to do is instantiate the view controller inside the scene delegate, and that is pretty simple. If you are following along my tutorials, you already know this. So we need to create a window scene here, and then go window equals UI window with the window scene of our freshly created window scene, and now go window dot make key and visible, and finally window dot root view controller equals our window, but because yeah, let's just add it inside the UI navigation controller with the root view controller of our view controller. Awesome. Now that is all we have to do. So just so we can see that, okay, we are inside this view controller, let's just create our views background color to be, let's say, system yellow. Okay, and now it's time to build and run, and let's select iPhone, one of the simulators, so we can see better. And yeah, that should build and run, and we should see a system yellow background with the navigation right over there. How awesome is that? Okay, so what we want to add in here is, first of all, let's create a title, and let's add our table view. So let me just stop this, and yeah, let's just set the background color to be system background, but that won't show because we are going to add all of the table view to the views edges. But yeah, just in case you want to change that at later time. So let's just add our title, and that would be, let's say, UI table view. And that's really awesome. And now we want to add a subview, the table view, and then we want to add it. So before we do anything, let's just go ahead and create a default table view. So I will create it right over here as a lazy variable. Of course, if you have created this class as a UITableViewController, then it would be much easier. You don't have to delegate and so on. But I'm going to go through this the long way so you may understand all of this. So let's instantiate that. Let's create a table view here. And that will be a UI table view. There we go. And we finally want to return that so we get rid of these errors. Now, what we want to do here, what do we have here? What's the problem here? Yeah, we want to return the table view. Sorry for that. Okay, so that's that. And now we want to add this table view onto our view controller's view. So laying out views, it's really hard to do. So I have created here resources so you can download them, and yeah, go ahead and check out the link in the description. So you can just simply drag and drop all of these into your project. Now let me just go through these. Now here we have some helpers and some views. Let's start off with the helpers. Here we have some data. Now the data is an array, two-dimensional array, and we have this for the first section. As you can see, we have 2 elements there, and this is for the second section, and we have 3 elements. That's just it, simple data. Now here we have the TableViewcell, which we will cover in just a moment. Here we have a UIView+ extension. Basically what this does is just edges the view to its parent. This should be the parent, and we are going to add this to whatever we want to add, and that will be the table view. What we have here is vanilla layout. Okay, now we have the self-configuring cell, which we will use in just a moment. What this protocol needs is that we have a reuse identifier on the data cell. And finally, we have a table view supplementary. Let's just drag this over here so we can see that they are kind of the same. This is for the cell, and these are for the supplementary views, the header and the footer views. Okay, so we are going to take a look at these in just a moment. So first of all, let's go back to our view controller, and now we can just simply add our table view to our view hierarchy. So let's go into the view did load, and let's add view.add subview, sorry, and that is our table view. And finally, we want to edge it, so table view.edge to our view. And basically that is it. If we run our project, we should see our default table view here. There it is. As you can see, how awesome is that? Really fast and simple. But we want to make this a little bit more interesting. So we want to add some delegate methods and the data source. So for that, first of all, let's go here, and under the table view, let's set the delegate to self. Now we are going to set some delegate stuff on this already, like on the lazy var declaration, but just in case you want to add some more, I just added the delegate here. So for that error to go away, we want to create an extension here on the view controller and adhere to UI table view delegate. Let's see, there is UI, come on, table view delegate. There it is. So that's that. And here you can add your delegate functions if you want to, but we are going to take a look at them in just a moment. Now, next up is the data source. Where should we get our data? So TableView.dataSource equals self. Of course, we want to create another extension for that. So let's go here, extension on the view controller, and that is UI TableView data source. There we go. Now this will require some delegate methods. So let's hit fix there. As you can see here, we have number of rows in section and cell for row at item. Yeah, let's take a look at number of rows in sections. Now, if we, this is kind of, okay, how many rows should we have in the section? And let's just grab our data here, dot data. Again, this is a two-dimensional array. And let's just grab the section and let's grab the count of that section. So this is how many rows we should have in a section. Now, how many sections should we have? That's really easy. Let's just start typing in number of sections. There it is, number of sections in TableView, and that is data.count. So the first part of the two-dimensional array. Now let's go for cell for row at index path, okay? Because this is kind of the hardest part. Now we need to dequeue a reusable cell. Now for that we need to create cells, and before that we want to register those cells. So let's just take a look at the resources that we kind of added here. We already have some views here, and we have a UITableView here. So we are going to use this one, but it's kind of a strange cell. If you can, it's not a UITableView cell, and this is kind of really boost on UITableView. So let me just explain this to you. Now you can use this in your project if you wanted to. So we are using generics. I won't go into what generics are. Make sure that you just check out my other resources on this. So this will be a class, an open class on UITableView because we want to override it. Okay. So what this has is just receiving an item. And when it does receive an item, we're going to lay out the views and configure the views. Now this is kind of a template for our table cell. We are not going to implement anything on the layout views, on the configure views, but we will use these functions for those specific cells. And we have a overridable public init, the default one, and this required public init with the coder. So pretty straightforward stuff. What you need to be aware of here is that we are kind of appending or adding the item that we add here into the configure views function. So that is really important to know. So how do we use this table cell class? Well, we are going to create a TableView cell. That's of course a class, and this will adhere to TableView cell and string. Now string is the item that we want to add inside our cells. Now this could be any type of model. Now you could create a person here or whatever. Make sure that you add that type of model here. And we are also adhering to the cell configuring cell. Now this will require to create a static variable reuse identifier of type string, and we are just going to use this as cell. Now you will see the use case of this in just a second. So we don't have any typos on the reuse identifier. Now, we just override the two functions, layout views and configure views. Now, the layout views we call super layout views. The content view should be system background, and we are going to simply add a subview title label and add it to the content view. That's just basically it. And how do we populate this cell, you ask? Well, we just go for the override configure views for item, and we grab our item. If you're just going to create this string, you will see that string will automatically populate. Now this can be an optional, so bear in mind that. And title label.text equals the item. Now the text requires an optional string, so this is really nice. We don't have to kind of guardlet unwrap it. So that's for the cell, creation of the cell view. Now let's go back to our view controller and let's use this cell. So first of all, we want to register a cell, and we are going to do that right up here after the setting of those delegate and data sources. So let's go TableView register, and we are going to use this cell class for reuse identifier. Okay, cell class. Now what is the cell class? And that is my TableView cell.self, and reuse identifier, my TableView cell.reuse identifier. There it is. Okay, that's really nice. Now we want to dequeue that, and we are going to dequeue that inside our cell for row at index path. So how would we do that? First of all, we want to grab our table view that we have here and call dequeue reusable cell with identifier, and yeah, we are going to use this one. And the identifier will be my TableView cell reuse identifier. So as you can see, this is really, really nice. Okay, so that is our cell, but we want to create this as a cell. So let's add in here a let cell equals the table view decurious, and we are going to cast it as, and we can simply bang that out because it should crash if this doesn't occur. It will not be our main table view cell. It should crash. Now finally, you want to add the cells item, so cell.item, and this will instantiate all of the laying out the views and configuring the views. So when we are just going to add that item, and the item is really, really easy to grab. So data.data, and we want to grab our index path section. So index path.section, and then index path row. So index path.row. Really, really nice. And finally, you want to return that cell. So return cell. There it is. So pretty self-explanatory. Let's build and run and see how this looks like. Okay, build has succeeded. Really, really nice. And as you can see, all of the data has been populated, but we can't see the headers and footers. Now for that, we are going to, first of all, let's take a look at the already created header and footer TableView supplementary class that we created. Basically, it's the same thing. As you can see, all I have changed is that this class adheres to the UITableView header footer view. So let's take a look at the header view that we have created here. As you can see, a lot of similarities. What you need to be aware of is that now it adheres to the TableView supplementary, and the reuse identifier, it should be header. It's not cell right now, it's header now. All of the other stuff is the same. I just changed the background to blue. And let's take a look at the footer. Everything is kind of the same. Just use the reuse identifier footer and set the system yellow for our background. Now let's just add this to our TableView. So let's go back to our review controller. Let's have some more space here. And first of all, we want to, of course, register all of these. So let's go here. So TableView.register. And in this case, we are going to use, again, cell, let's see, a class for header footer reuse identifier. So make sure you use this one, and my table view header, and for the identifier, my table view header dot reuse identifier. Okay, so we want to do the same thing for the footer. So let's just have here footer. Come on. There we go. And of course, the reuse identifier should be from that footer. So basically that's that. We want to now, yes, so yeah, we want to have in here self. Sorry for that, guys. So self.self. Okay, so now that we registered, we want to dequeue that. And that is inside the data source. And let's just have some space here. And let's go for the header in section. So table view and header in section. View for header in section. So again, let's just create our view. So let view. I'm just calling a view because it's not a cell. So view, and that is table view dequeue. Come on. Oh, I need to add in here an equals table view dot dequeue, and now we are going to dequeue reusable header footer view. So there it is, and with the identifier my table view header dot reuse identifier. So we want to cast it as my table view header. You already know the drill. And we finally want to add a views item. So view dot item equals. Now I'm just going to grab here the section number. So what I'm going to do here is just add a new line. So you can see that, okay, we are going to add multiple lines. This is a new line and header. And let's add in here the section with interpolation. So section, and let's add another new line. Okay, so that's kind of setting up the cell, and then we want to return, or not the cell, sorry, the view, the header view. And we want to return this view. Now, we should do the same for the footer. Let me just create that real quickly. So, table view footer in section. And let's dequeue our view. Let me just move this all the way up so you can see better. View equals TableView dot. Oh, again, equals TableView dequeue reusable header footer view and my TableView footer dot reuse identifier as my TableView footer, and let's add our views item. So set our views item equals, and this time around I'm just going to go for footer, so no extra spaces there like new lines or whatever, and I'm just going to grab the sections. Finally, we are going to return our view. Okay, so let's build and run and see what we got at this point. Build has failed. Oh, I just added it here, title view for footer in sections. We want to have this view for footer in sections. So let me just copy and paste this view for footer. Make sure that you use that one. And it will return a UI view, an optional UI view. Okay, let's hit Command R so we can see what we got here. And as you can see, there it is. And headers and footers are kind of sticking. That's really, really nice. Now, one thing that I want to show you as I'm closing this tutorial, and I'm just going to copy this out. You can set the row height, section header height, and the section footer height if you wanted to. So let's just add that in there. There we go. And let's have a little bit more indentation, better indentation. So this will set it to this constant. So section header height will be 50 and so on. So this is how you just create those nice layouts. But if you do want to have it as an estimated header height, you could also do that. You could just remove all of these, or you could just add in some new. Let me just copy all of that out and paste it in here again. These are just simple properties that you might want to use. Let's just comment that out, comment this in, Control I to indent. And yeah, this will make sure that this is the estimated row height, but if we need to, if the cell needs to contract or whatever, this will do its thing. So we have an estimated cell, header, and footer height. And that's how easy it is to create UI table views. Now I want you to hit that notification bell, because in the next video I will be talking about slide-in menus. Now, while you wait for that, make sure to check out these videos as well too. I talk a lot about Swift UI, UI kit in general, and as usual, I will see you in the next one.